This is the best of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Even though I can't see Izzy Gutierrez, I can see him, and I can see into his soul. I'll explain how. I'm Adnan Virk. Me and Izzy joining forces today on the Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Much of the shipping container along with us. They're going to chime in momentarily because we faced some blowback over our top 5 sports movies, which we concluded the show with yesterday. So we'll rehash a few omissions or just movies that people are wrong, we were right, and they're overrated. As for my man Gutierrez, so last night we get this tweet from Emily. Since Israel Gutierrez and Outsider Mike are the same age, Mike Golick Jr. and Adnan should have Mikey C. recreate the Izzy photos to show how bad cigarettes are for a person. And Izzy, she quote tweets the reality tweet of you. This was the Men's Fitness from December 26th of 2016, where you had it like a 10-pack. This is amazing. Now, Mikey C's response was, how do you know I'm not jacked like that? So we have 2 questions today. 1, Izzy, are you still in that good a shape? And 2, what are we going to have to do to coax Mikey C to take his shirt off and to somehow replicate that photo spread you did?
Great couple of questions to start the show. How you doing today, Adnan?
I'm doing great, man. You?
I'm doing pretty well, although it's part of my answer here. I feel like I am in, technically in terms of, fitness, I'm in that same vicinity. I'm probably a little light. I think right during those pictures, I was maybe 170, 172, and right now I'm more 164, 165. So maybe not as much.
Adnan, he looks
bulk,
the same. I'm going to jump in here. Adnan, he looks great. He's I'm 0.5% less, but he looks the same. He looks fantastic.
A little leaner, but still looking great.
Part of the problem is even right now, I was just going to complain a little bit. Because, guys, I've never had, back spasms, but I feel like if I'm going to, today's the day because my lower back is just killing me right now.
Listen, this is perfect synchronicity because for those who were listening last time I did the show, I also complained about lower back problems. So one guy who's not in good shape, one guy who's in phenomenal shape, yet both around the same age suffering from lower back problems. Izzy, can I ask one question? Because I've been self-diagnosing my issues.
Sure.
We're starting to turn a corner, but it's still there. How do you sleep? I know that's maybe a personal question, but what position do you sleep?
Oh, man. I sleep a lot on one side or the other and a little bit on my back.
Okay, then you're okay. My issue, because I'm like a 4th grader, I sleep on my stomach. So when I went and met with the physical therapist, he's like, are you nuts? Do you know what that does to your lower back? I'm like, well, I'm painfully aware of it now. Every day it takes me 2 hours just to get a little loose here. and he's like, yeah, it's a sleep issue. Mike Ryan sleeps on his back explicitly, but back sleepers are known to be bad snorers. So your approach is actually correct, to sleep on one side or the other and to kind of mix it up.
It's not great for my shoulders. Not going to lie. It doesn't feel great. I don't really know which position to put my arm. I'm telling you, sleeping is very difficult. It is not the easiest thing in the world. Did I just say sleeping is difficult?
Yes, you did.
To do it right is very difficult.
Okay, well, if sleeping is difficult, this raises another provocative question, which Tim Kirchin has once said to me. Which is the best? And we're going to go around the horn on this. I want Billy to start this off. Which is the most pleasurable feeling? As now the audience leans in to wonder what kind of a question this is.
Oh, yeah?
Is it, 1, if you badly need to urinate and you go pee? 2, if you badly need to do number 2 and you take care of that? 3, if you're exhausted and that moment when you go to bed? 4 is if you're incredibly thirsty. And 5 is if you're incredibly hungry. Billy, what is of
How
those?
have we not played this game before?
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of options.
Wow, so if you really need to go number 1, if you really need to go number 2.
Correct.
If you're really tired and you go to sleep, or if you're really thirsty and you drink something, or if you're really hungry and you eat.
Yeah. So, which of those? Because obviously all of them are to some level. We got to rank those.
I feel like if I really need to do number 2, and I do number 2, because normally there's pain involved in that.
That was my brother's point. If you don't do that, that's stomach cramps.
Yeah, that could be bad. And there's also a panic involved in that too. So same thing with number 1. So if you're really, but if you're thirsty, you kind of could start one. It all depends on your mindset.
I've got my order.
Izzy,
wow, you ranked them.
By the way, no offense, Billy, but that was quite a bit of dithering. I know you were talking out loud. I know I surprised you. You did not rank them. You kind of gave balance.
Here's the thing that you need to learn about me. I'm really bad at hypotheticals because I always need kind of more questions. So if you ask me a question, then I'll ask you 4 more questions. So I'm not the best to go first.
Oh, listen, Izzy's ready to roll. Go ahead.
All right, number 5. And I need some imaging here, Roy. My number 5 is eating. Ba-bam! Is eating when you're really hungry, because honestly, if you've ever fasted before, once you kind of get over those initial hunger pangs, like you'll get used to it. And when you eat after that, it's like, all right. And plus, you eat less when you're super hungry because it feels like your stomach shrunk, whatever. Number 4, sleeping after being tired. Because in my own mind, like, I don't actually really fall asleep right away. My mind just starts working, and I'm just like, oh, I'm so happy that I'm asleep. But it's like, oh, wait, I can't go to sleep yet, yada, yada, yada. And then it's just like another 10 minutes of just me sitting there being tired. So it's not 100% relief there. Yep. Number 3 is doing number 2. I tend to have a pretty strong stomach, like a steel stomach. I've never had one of those incidents where I've pooped myself, never done any of that. And I feel like I can hold it in for days. I flew to China without ever once going to the restroom in a plane. So I feel like I can. Now, it is like unhealthy and it is a little bit painful, but I think.
But you don't eat anything. You only eat healthy things that would never upset your stomach.
Right. Not true. I occasionally have some gluten that can mess with your stomach.
Oh, occasionally
have some gluten.
Yeah, like every other month or something.
Not to be confused with number 3. Number 2 is drink when you're thirsty. And that, to me, I feel like my body's failing. Like, if I don't have water to the point where my throat is that dry, I feel like I'm going to die. And number 1 is number 1. The level of relief that you get when you really, really, really have to go. Like, if you've ever been out at night anywhere, right, where there's bathroom lines and stuff like that, and you're just like, you've got to be kidding me, and you've really got to go, and it's going to be another 45 minutes. Man, the relief after that is amazing. There's my list.
Phenomenal list. I would flip 2 and 3. So I would put number 2 in the number 2 position. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I couldn't agree more with number 1, Izzy. I think it's a no-brainer. First of all, we were probably doing this 10, 12 times a day. If you're in like a long road trip, I mean, that urgency, it's affecting everything. And you're right, that moment, I mean, literally, you go to like a men's rest stop, like, oh, like this, people are exhaling with glory. I don't know how it can't be number 1. And I'm with you on the thirsty. Thirsty, okay, fine. I'm dying of thirst. Okay, it's nice, but it's a little overrated.
Billy looks very confused
nice
right now.
You do number 1 12 times a day?
You should probably get that.
That's a lot. How much water are you drinking?
Go to the doctor.
I mean, I don't know. There's days where I can go double figures easily. Like, I try to drink about a gallon and a half of water.
Oh, you're drinking
all
this water, though, you fitness freak.
And that you combine that with the coffee, and it's just a beeline.
Maybe it's 8 to 10, Billy. I was trying to exaggerate, but it's high. It definitely touches double figures some days.
And number 2, I mean, I don't want to get into it, but number 2, you do that a lot every day too?
1 to 2.
1 to 2? Yeah.
Billy is like clockwork with that stuff. We call that around here, we call it twoing. Every day at 1 o'clock when the show's over, Billy's twoing.
But this is, I mean, not to be a jerk, but you guys should put roadblocks in his way. Like, listen, Bill, we got to have this meeting. The corporate sponsors are here. Le Batard was a little ornery today. Like, can you just give us 5 minutes? Just see how long Billy's stomach can fight this.
How did we start this?
That's it. Oh, we went from sleeping. Yeah, it went from Izzy just casually mentioning lower back pain, which I shared with him, and then it went to sleep. We went from there.
Wait, what was Tim Kirchin's list?
Timmy agreed with me that peeing was number 1 for sure.
Here's what I think happens, and I think the older you get, the more this list changes, and the more the number 1 works its way toward the number 1.
I can't lie. He told us this question. We're going to be at Williamsport this Sunday for Baseball Tonight. He first posed this hypothetical to us a year ago, and I believe Izzy's correct. There was a lot of looks like, wow, Tim, you're 60, so your bladder's kind of pathetic compared to the rest of us.
Yeah,
we're going to continue this list. Roy and Billy and Chris are going to give their picks. Mikey C can weigh in as well. What is that gives you most relief? When you have to do number 1, you have to do number 2, when you're dying of thirst, when you're dying of hunger, or dying to go to bed. It's Adnan Virk and Izzy Gutierrez with the hard-hitting questions today on Le Batard Show.
Dan Le Batard,
America's fastest growing sports show.
Stugotz.
Because when you start from 0 and you have 1 viewer, you're growing fast.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Adnan Virk alongside Izzy Gutierrez. It is the Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. There's so much to get to. I mean, would you start a franchise with Garoppolo or Watson? We don't care. Here's the question we're asking all of you. Rank the following 5. Really need to go pee? Really need to go to number 2. Dying of thirst, have a glass of water, or whatever beverage you prefer. Dying of hunger, and you finally have something in your belly. Or you're so exhausted and cannot wait to go to sleep. What is the best feeling of those 5? We're going to save the best for last with Billy. Izzy and I have already given our list. I agree with the Izzy's except for flipping a couple. So, Roy, you're on the clock with your top 5 of this.
All right, number 5 is sleep. Number 4 is number 2.
Strong stomach on Roy. Okay.
Number 3 is thirst. Number 2 is food. And number 1 is number 1.
See, I don't know how you could put eating that high. Like, unless you just really don't like being hangry, right? Because your attitude changes when you're starving. And you're like if you just wait a little bit, it's not going to be that bad. Now, you're still probably going to be in a poor mood.
No, because I'm always in a poor mood, but I'm always hungry.
Good point. Good point. You are always in a poor mood.
My basic thesis is this. I just want number 1 to always be number 1, which I'm pleased with. I'm impressed by the strength of Roy's stomach to put number 2 at number 4. Aside from that, good list. Chris Cody, what do you got?
Number 5, going number 2. I'm like clockwork. I'm like clockwork,
we got some
man.
strong stomachs on this show. Wow.
Like clockwork. Number 4.
Like clockwork, like 2 or 3 times a day, or specifically, or just
once a day.
Wow.
When I get home from work.
I don't know if that's regular. I don't know if that's healthy.
Well, I should be doing it more?
Yeah. Couple times at least. You gotta look that up.
All right,
What
number
is
4,
regular?
my list. Sleeping.
Sleep when you die.
Number 3, drinking a nice glass of water. Number 2, going number 1.
Whoa! Upset City.
Number 1, eating.
That's so crazy. On number 5 is number 2, and number 1 is eating.
There's nothing worse than that grumbling in your stomach when you're hungry.
Chris,
nothing worse than that?
Nothing
worse than your bladder possibly exploding.
I actually like that. It makes you dance a little bit. You have to stay moving.
What?
Like,
It is crazy how dancing works.
You guys ever done that when you have to really
the
pee? You
pee-pee
shuffle
dance,
the
of
hips
course.
side to side while sitting like this. We're not on TV right now, but it helps.
I can't believe, Chris, I'm astonished. I don't know anybody that puts eating. I mean, I admire the fact that you like food or just you hate the growling that much, but that at number 1.
You don't think Dan would put that at number 1?
We'll have to somehow get a hold of Levitard. Just text him. We just need his top 5. Ed Stews as well. Billy, bring it home.
Well, a couple things. First.
Hypotheticals.
I looked this up, and I found a place that says normal bowel movements is anywhere between 3 times a day and 3 times a week, which I don't see how that's the range.
I'm not gonna lie. There are women in my family who say they go days without dropping, without doing
That's
it.
horrific for the metabolism. No.
That's again also not healthy.
Yeah.
What's that, Mike?
I'm like 3 times a week.
That's impossible.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
Man, that's like an event whenever it happens. Then it's like, oh, today's the day, guys.
I mean,
I'm going in.
Sounds painful.
No, for real. The 3 times, those 3 times must be insane.
You're just destroying toilets.
I'm proud of my work. Yeah. I actually had a college roommate. Can you? I don't even.
We've all had the college roommate.
Get the dump button ready. Get the dump button ready.
Yeah, you probably
if I can say this word. Starts with a T and ends with a D. But he took a picture of one of his longest turds. Can I say that?
Yes, you can.
All right.
I don't know if the
wait. Not only took a picture of it, put it on a T-shirt and wore it around.
Whoa!
Yeah, he was that proud of his number 2.
When you guys were in school and growing up, and you decide,
don't make it sound like it was like the 50s
broadcaster.
Or anything, okay?
No, but growing up, and you're you know what, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to be.
Yeah.
This is the profession that I want. And you guys, did you ever imagine that you'd have a national show that you're doing, and you could talk about anything you wanted in sports, and the first thing you talk about is doing number 1 or number 2?
Did I ever imagine it, or did I ever dream it? Because the second is true.
We're 22 minutes in, and we're talking about 1s versus 2s still.
Yes. And
This
you
now
still haven't
becomes-
answered our question, sir.
Yeah. This now becomes how long we can keep this conversation going, Billy, because that'd be more impressive. Could you ever imagine doing a national sports talk show, and for 1 hour you had this provocative conversation?
All right, so you want the list?
Give us your number 5.
Wait. First of all, Why do the lights in this place just randomly turn on? It's superpower.
It's weird. Like, we have very little control of the lights. So we have a couple tiny lights that we can turn on, but the rest of the lights are like TV lights.
Okay.
So a lot of days when we're not on TV, those lights are off, and it's like a cave in here. It's really dark because we have little tiny lights, and half of them are like burnt out. So when the lights get really bright in here, it means that someone from TV just got here and they turned something on.
Okay.
But no one can even see that. So.
And a follow-up question, how many times are you doing it during the day?
Me?
Yes.
Oh man, I'm like closer to the 3 a day range.
Boy, Billy,
that's about right. All right, the list.
Okay, number 5.
You must eat a lot of fruit.
I do.
I eat a lot of stuff that's obviously bad for me, and it's just like my body is just rejecting it and waiting to like expel it from my body.
That's not the right reason to have to go number 2, but all right. You guys are so healthy.
Keeps me thin-ish. All right, number 5, food.
Agreed. Go-gurts.
Number 4, you're not going to like this one, water.
Whoa! So you don't need to ingest anything, you're saying. You could fast without any, you could live in a desert for a couple of days.
Oh, no. And I've actually like fainted before, and I've been dehydrated before. So you'd think it'd be higher on the list.
Yeah.
But no, the other things bother me so much more. Okay. Because like whatever, if I need to drink something and I faint, like that's it. That's the end. And I don't have to keep dealing with the pain. Right?
All right. In theory,
that seems
I've never
like
gotten
terrible
that far.
logic.
It's terrible.
I like the logic, Billy.
All right. Number 3. Number 1.
Whoa! Huge upset. My goodness.
Well, if he doesn't have to eat or drink anything, why would he have to go number 1 or number 2?
The thing about the number 1 and the number 2, well, we'll get to it in a second. Number 2, sleep.
My guy likes to sleep.
I think I know the reasoning behind your number 1. But
and number 1 is number 2.
Is it because of PTSD?
A little bit. And I didn't think that number 2 would be that high on the list until a couple years ago. But number 1 and number 2, like not on the list, the activity of doing number 1 and doing number 2 can cause you like actual pain. I guess not eating can give you like a headache or, your stomach can hurt a little bit. But like there's a fear that you're going to do number 1 in your pants or do number 2 in your pants if you really need to do them.
You ever been hungover largely because of dehydration? That hurts. You need water.
Yeah, but that's an outlier. That's a specific example. We're just talking generalities here.
Uh-huh.
I sleep yet at number 3, right, Billy?
I had sleep at number 2.
Yeah, see, sleep seems high to me. I'm with Izzy that even when you're exhausted, you don't fall asleep right away. Like you head in the pillow, you're like, oh man, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
But it's not like, does it give you the relief the others do?
I don't think so. And I think the older you get, the tougher it is to fall asleep, personally. I'm actually considering flipping 5 and 4 and putting sleep at number 5 and eat at number 4 for me. Because sleep is, I feel like it's unnecessary.
Yeah, but I'm a bad sleeper, so like if I get good sleep, it's like a great feeling. Like if I can go a night without waking up, that's like incredible. That's almost as good as number 2.
Agreed.
That's why it's such a great list. Best top 5 list going. We'll keep it going. Plus, how is Chris Cody dealing with his growing fame? Adnan Virk, Izzy Gutierrez, Batard Show, ESPN Radio.
Don Batard.
I would like to help out the board op on Golic and Wingo. Cliff, I am your voice. I was you once. I am you. Golic and Wingo laughed at Cliff the board op. And Cliff, I'm telling you, they all laughed at me at one point. They're still laughing.
Can we talk to Cliff right now? I want to ask him who in sports looks like they might have dandruff. Can we talk to Cliff right now since you've decided to use this first segment to send shout-outs to Cliff the board op?
Stugotz.
Guys, it appears that we have Cliff the board op.
Oh, yeah. All right, Cliff the board op. The question is posed to you. Mike, get our top-of-the-line entertainment production ready. Who in sports most looks like they probably have dandruff?
Is that to me?
Thank you, Cliff. Your big shining moment. You are indeed the Stugotz of the board op world. Hey, goodbye, everybody.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
That's Izzy Gutierrez. I'm Adnan Virk joining forces today on the Batard Show on ESPN Radio. Thrilled to have you with us. The topic du jour is not about the Lakers and whether you think the fact that they're predicted to finish 6th in the West by ESPN forecast panel is too high or too low. No, the focus of the day actually is rank the following and what you need to have happen most in your personal itinerary. When you got to go to number 1, when you got to do number 2, when you're dying of hunger, when you're dying of thirst, or need to take a nap. Those are the 5. Mikey C will give his list in a second, but first we bring in our man, the great Adam Amin. He calls it all, and he calls it all at the highest level. You know him in college football. He's going to be now paired with Rod Gilmore in the fall. Does a great job on baseball. He's calling the Red Sox and Phillies tonight on ESPN, which I'll be in studio for as well. He calls the NBA, he calls college basketball, and called his beloved Chicago Bears preseason game. And perhaps most notably, Adam hosted 6 hours of this fantasy football marathon. How are you still surviving, Amin?
Well, I mean, the indication that I was given was that it was not all that hard. I mean, and to be honest with you, 3 hours overnight, 4 hours, to close it out in prime time, 7 to 11, may not be the most difficult thing in the world. I concede that. Okay, I promise you, I concede that. It's the flight and the prep for Nathan Uvalde and Vince Velasquez that's getting to me more than anything else tonight.
So what was the most difficult part of it, or what was the most entertaining part of it?
Most difficult part was just those last 20 minutes at 3 a.m. when we were going from 2:40 a.m. to 3 a.m. on Tuesday morning, Monday night, whatever you want to call it. And trying to keep Ryan Clark awake, trying to just jab him in the shoulder once in a while when he puts his head back on one of those comfy chairs, just poking him to make sure that he's still alive and awake, and trying to keep him going. And the most entertaining part was being in the kitchen. I mean, that's my favorite part. They fed us. Carl Ruiz from the Food Network came in. One of the great chefs that you're going to see on television, Guy's Grocery Games, one of the stars of that show. He came in, he fed us, and that's always going to win it over for me.
Yeah, that sounds like a cake job. I'm sorry. Any of us could do it.
Yeah,
personal chef, get out of here.
Listen, who among us is complaining about being on the air for 4 consecutive hours? I'm the last one to complain about it. Is it Stefania Bell? Is Stefania Bell complaining about it? Is it Barry?
Didn't Stugotz complain for 3 straight months about it?
Because what did he do? 2 hours in the marathon, and he was in.
I mean, he did nothing well.
He thought he was
right.
in. He did nothing. Come on, I don't even remember. It was a non-spectacular performance, if I remember correctly, and I'm certain I don't.
It was memorable for all the wrong reasons.
And I'd like to point out, there's also been falsehoods perpetuated because, Adam, I was a part of the Fantasy Football Marathon, but it was taped. I was on vacation in California last week, and as part of the section, which was, I believe, from 3 to 4 a.m., with Fitzy and Dominique and Clinton and Dinah Rossini, they did a segment about what movies keep you up all night. We got to hang out with the cinephile. We got to call Virk. So, this is a lie. This is a falsehood being perpetuated on the public. People thought this was happening at all hours of night. This was taped last week.
Spoiler alert.
This is a moon landing type hoax that we're talking about. You realize that, right? You're killing your own credibility, and you're killing the credibility of this fine 4-letter network that just went 29 straight hours talking about fake football.
On a serious note, I know you love the Bears. You're a proud Chicagoan. You called some Bears preseason games. My brother's actually a Bears fan. I don't think I've told you that before. He used to live in Peoria, so he adopted the Bears. What have you seen? Because, listen, this is a long-suffering franchise, but you guys love your football, of course, and everybody wants to know about Trubisky and the changing of the guard. So what do you got in the Bears?
I think they're looking to expand the offense a little bit. They're going to open things up. Right away when Trubisky got his first snaps last week, they were already taking shots down the field, trying to get him into a rhythm and try to get him comfortable with taking those shots. This Saturday will be a little bit different. I'll see my guys, Steve Levy and Brian Greasy, and bother them, and then we'll do Bears and Broncos, and We'll see if Allen Robinson can be a deep ball threat, and Mitch Trubisky is going to get a little bit more time. I think that'll be good. Tariq Cohen, Jordan Howard coming off good seasons. They'll be important in the backfield in a Matt Nagy offense. And then I think defensively, obviously this Roquan Smith holdout is over now. So he's already at training camp. He's already working out with the team. I don't know how many snaps he's going to play, if at all, on Saturday. But I think they need him because this is one of the better defenses in the NFL last year. And the problem and granted, it's a preseason game, but one of the problems that we saw was the interior run defense. And with Roquan Smith in the mix, you would assume that this is going to be one of the better defensive teams in the NFL once again. So I'm not saying they're going to go from a 5-win team to a 10-win team, but this is a team that should improve. They're one of the worst offensive teams in the NFL last year. They bring in a great offensive mind. I think they should be a top 16 scoring offense. Anywhere from 16 to 12 is a major jump from last year in terms of points per game. And I think defensively, they should be just as good. They have continuity in the secondary. They've got a great guy up front in Akeem Hicks. And this draft pick, Roquan Smith, Adnan, you and I saw him a lot last year. Whether it was covering the Rose Bowl or national championship or whatever it may be, this guy's a stud. And I think the Bears need him on the interior to help that run defense.
Hey, Adam, actually, is there a nickname for Adam? Do you have a nickname?
I don't think I do. Is there?
I don't think so. Yeah, if you think about it, you're either Ad or Damn, and nobody wants to be either of those two.
Yeah, nobody wants to. I mean, that's just not good. I think my nickname is Kevin Nagandi. I think that's what they just assumed that that's who I am. Yeah.
Oh man.
I mean, I heard somebody the other day call you Double A, which I never.
Yeah, I was going to ask. Is that's got to be a terrible nickname? But Double A.
So they go with it, I guess. Yeah.
You are way too professional and too good at what you do. So I'm going to need your list there. Eat, sleep, drink. Number 1, number 2. Rank them.
This is perfect because I'm on a plane. The boarding doors closed. I got to hang up the phone in like 30 seconds.
Excellent.
This is the perfect timing to do this in public. So I can let the entire plane know. It goes number 2,
louder.
Number 1. No. 2, 1. Nap, hunger, thirst.
Wow, thirst making its first number 1. That was starting at 5, wasn't it?
That goes from the most satisfying to the least satisfying.
So thirst is last. Okay. So number 2 is number 1, at least in the eyes of Adam Amin, who I think is number 1.
He's a 2.
Follow him on Twitter, Adam Amin. He's also great on Instagram. Thanks so much, dude. Enjoy the game tonight.
Thanks, Double A.
You got it.
Perfect timing. Red Sox Phillies, as I'm looking up at an ESPN screen. Adam Amin is calling the game tonight in Philadelphia as he's breaking down Vince Velasquez and what he can offer for the Phillies, battling for first place in the NL East and embarrassing himself. I'm praying somebody overheard that conversation and recognized him, and now he's going to challenge him on number 2, being number 1. We will get some sports talk in. We are going to do it surrounding Dwight Howard, what he can accomplish now at this advanced age. It's Adnan Virk and Izzy Gutierrez, Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Catch more of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz, 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying a home for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a lot of anxiety and stress for a lot of people. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about that. They're calling it the power buying process. Here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, your assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. That gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. This is very cool here. First, they'll lock your rate up for 90 days while you shop. Now, here's the best part. If rates go up, your rates stay the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. Either way, you win. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, simple. Go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz. Rate Shield approval. Only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data records. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
That's Izzy Gutierrez. I'm Adnan Virk. Coming up 15 minutes from now, another NBA player complaining about the Warriors joining forces. Get out of here. Good news, though. We're going to have Mikey C's list coming up momentarily about his top 5 in case you're just joining us now. And I may ask Eduardo Perez this as well because Eddie can think quick on his feet. But which of these 5 are you most in dire need of? When you need to go pee? When you need to go do a number 2, when you're dying of thirst and have some water, when you're starving of hunger and have something to eat, or when you're exhausted and need to go to sleep. Eddie, we'll do that at the end. I want you to rank those top 5.
Think about it.
So give a little time to ruminate on it. But I want to ask.
Pressure.
I was about to say there's a lot of pressure, and I know living in Miami, all about the fact that our producer Billy is a diehard Marlins fan. So we'll dive into that stuff in just a second.
Sorry to hear, brother.
But first and foremost, what's happening in the AL West? We thought this thing was over. The Astros were going to run away with it. The A's are surging. All of a sudden, the Mariners may be hanging around. Do they look like they were falling apart? Seriously, what's going to go on in this division? Who's going to win it?
This is crazy. I mean, you look back a month and a half ago, the A's were 11 games back, and all of a sudden tonight, when we all go to sleep, or probably while we're sleeping, the A's could be tied for first place with the Houston Astros. And I think there's a combination going on. One, the players with the A's are seeing that their front office is pulling through big time. Their bullpen has been great. They haven't blown a lead after the 7th inning, 65-0 all season long. That part is a standard. Trevino was phenomenal. Blake Trinan an all-star. He's done a fantastic job through 9 pitches yesterday to get a save. The day before through 31 pitches to bail out Juris Familia. But again, they get Familia, they get Fernando Rodney, they get veteran guys and guys that have closed out games, and they're shortening up the game. Sort of similar in what happened with the Kansas City Royals a few years back, where after 5 innings, if you do not have the lead or you're not tied with the Kansas City Royals, you're in a lot of trouble. This is what's happening with the Oakland Athletics. Number 2, the Houston Astros, they're hurt. No Altuve, no Springer. Correa just gets back. No Brian McCann to make Verlander feel better on the mound and to give confidence to those pitchers, that pitching staff. Cole, again, they're struggling. You have 2 teams right now that they're both going in opposite directions, and they might meet up tonight when it comes to first place after it's all over and said.
Eddie, there's been a lot of talk about the position players and pitching and how it's a problem and how I think it's fun to watch, and I think if the guys actually want to do it, even though, since the game's out of hand, it's cool to watch. Do you think it's an actual problem?
I think because of the way that rosters are being used and the way players are being used, and you see a lot of double switches early, you see a lot of platooning going on. There's not a lot of bench. The bench isn't deep enough. And all of a sudden, you have all these pitchers that are just 1-inning guys. There are no multiple inning guys anymore. And because of the stress of the way the schedule's set up, managers are now willing to say, I'm going to lose this game, and because I need to win the next 3. And they're willing to do that. And we're seeing not only games that are blowouts, but games that are just 5-run leads. And we're seeing teams that are bringing in their position players in the 7th inning. We've seen it this year. That's how crazy it's been. Usually it was just for a 1-inning mop-up. Sometimes I've had to warm up in the past, never had to come into a big league game, thank goodness. But we're seeing that a lot more. And maybe the best, and you sort of have to protect arms. Doctors tell you, don't throw a pitcher after a certain amount of pitches. It's documented. And organizations put so much value into their bullpen and into their starting staff that they're willing to risk a position player, but not one of those big arms.
Talking right now with Eduardo Perez, of course, a major part of our Major League Baseball coverage. Sunday, we were at Wrigley. Monday, you called the game with Oberman and Kirchen, Yankees-Mets, which we'll get into in a second because I want to hear about Keith's memorabilia collection, which is bananas. Wow. But first, listen, Eddie, the Dodgers get Machado, and you and me and everybody goes, all right, here go the Dodgers, right? They're going to take off. You get Dozier. That was a good pickup as well. You called that move before you went on vacation with your family in Europe, and I'm like, now they're going to be fine. But they're not. The D-backs are not going anywhere. Last night, Puig and Hundley ejected, a little bit of fisticuffs. What's going on in Los Angeles? Why have they not been able to pull away from the pack?
Well, I think with a couple big reasons. One, you don't have your closer now, and you don't know until when you're not going to have your closer. And I think that creates a little bit of animosity now in that clubhouse. And what do I mean by that is Kenta Maeda has to now leave the starting rotation and be the guy in the bullpen because Alexander couldn't do the job closing. There's just so many variables that are going on with the Dodgers. Manny Machado hasn't swung the bat well in the month of August. He just drove in his first run yesterday in the month of August. They've been scuffling a little bit offensively, but most importantly, they've been scuffling with who's going to close out games. And there's a little, and again, Maeda not too happy. He's not going to say it because I played in Japan. I know how it works. The Japanese way is to be very respectful, and if your superiors tell you to do something, you don't question it. But the way he answered his questioning about, okay, now you're going to be at the back end of the rotation to help out, is not. I don't think it's going to work. His contract is favorable for him to be in the bullpen. It's pretty much done on incentives for him starting games. So he's upset at that when it comes down to making and losing money big time for the good of the team and this angle of it. The San Francisco Giants are playing better baseball. And they're playing better baseball because of a rookie that's coming in, Ivan Rodriguez's son, Derek Rodriguez. He's been fantastic. Last 30 games, his ERA is a sub-2. He's kept you in the games. You have Madison Bumgarner that's healthy. He's giving you innings. It's starting to work for the San Francisco Giants. And Arizona Diamondbacks, Paul Goldschmidt. It's all about Goldie, and it's about it's about their pitching staff. They've done a nice job. Their bullpen needs to get better. It needs to do what they did in the first half because they were a little bit subject to being hit a lot after the All-Star break.
Talking right now with Eduardo Perez on the Le Batard Show, ESPN Radio, Adnan Virk and Izzy Gutierrez in for Dan and Stu. Eddie, I'm staring at my ESPN app and it says Education of Jeter. Inside Derek Jeter's plan to build a winner in Miami. For those unaware, you're there in Miami. You used to call games to the Marlins. Your dad, the Hall of Famer Tony Perez, was on the staff, but then walked away this past off season. Can you explain exactly what happened there with your dad and your feel about how Derek Jeter is doing in that plan in Miami?
It's a tough spot to be in. They spent a lot of money to get the organization from Jeffrey Loria. The fan base, there's a lot of it's a young fan base. I consider it as young as 2011 because once you move from the area where they were, where it was between Miami and Fort Lauderdale, you lost a lot of that fan base in Palm Beach, Jupiter area, Lauderdale area. Do they come to Miami? I don't think they show up that much, but at the end of the day, they had a plan, and the plan was simple. Start anew, completely anew. And that means if it's my dad, Tony Perez, Andre Dawson, Jack McKeon, Jeff Conine, Mr. Marlin, they said thank you, but no thank you. To my dad, they were creative. They gave him a creative dismissal, creative papers by saying, we want you back, but what you were making economically, we're going to cut it by 70+%.
I gotta say, repeat that. 70% pay cut?
Oh yeah. And my dad's like, you know what? You might need that money, so why don't you keep it and I'll just go on in my retirement and I'll see a golf stream and I'll be at the horses or I'll spend time with my grandkids and Eddie's dog because it's a popular part of the family too. And good for my daughters. They get to see more of their grandfather. Good for us. They get to spend time, and good for my wife and I. We can travel more, so they can take care of the kids too. So it works. It works for our family, but it's unfortunate for the fan base, especially in Miami. And Dan could easily attest to this. It's a big Cuban community, and big Latino community, also international. And my dad spent a lot of time with those fans, if it's in Calle Ocho and around, making sure that they understood what was going on with the Marlins throughout the years and all that. And obviously his experience always was valuable with the players.
Minute to go. You were in Keith Olbermann's. You were with me at Wrigley Sunday night. We did baseball tonight. You and Kirchen jet out.
That was a blast. By the way, your tie looks great.
I came off vacation a day early, and I only had a horrific tie where I was staying with my brother-in-law, and thankfully Eddie had 4 ties and hooked me up. Then green tie was resplendent. But you were in Olbermann's place at like 10 a.m., and then later that night in the broadcast, you guys were showing off his... Dude, it's like Cooperstown. It's unbelievable. Tell us about some of the artifacts Keith has.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable collection. He calls it the museum, and he's right. He's like, why don't we just have breakfast here at the museum? And I was like, okay, this is going to be a huge place. The view is unbelievable to start with, but most importantly, the view in the inside of the history. And this is one guy that I knew he likes baseball. I didn't know he was passionate about the collection of baseball and memorabilia all around. I'm talking about the padding of if it's Citi Field wall. Shea Stadium wall, the 338 sign. As soon as I saw it, I knew it was Shea Stadium. If it's the old Yankee Stadium, also, he's got memorabilia from there. He's got memorabilia from 1903 from Cy Young to Babe Ruth's 500th home run baseball. Carlton Fisk, the home run Fisk kit. I was like, are you kidding me? What? He's got the Billy Buckner glove. He's got Jose Canseco's hat when it hit off his head and went over for a home run from Jose Martinez. Are you kidding me? Carlos Martinez.
He calls his house the museum.
It's unbelievable. It really is. It really is. He's got stuff that it was jaw dropping. It was jaw dropping. And any collectible thing when it comes to baseball cards. I had a I don't want to always mess it up because I always say, is it Honus Wagner? He's got his baseball card. Not one, but 2.
I came through college with these two cards.
Did you at least hold it? Like try to just subtly?
I did, and I also got frisked on the way out, making sure I wasn't taking one of them.
Eyeing you guys
because
suspiciously.
My intentions were there.
Oh. Before we let you go, Billy, please make your comment about Wei Yin Chen to Eddie. Get his take on Wei Yin Chen.
Oh, my God, Eddie. I mean, you have a history with the Marlins. You were there at a very interesting time when they brought back 80-year-old Jack McKeon to manage, and then you had the whole season after. Yeah, where they had Ozzie in, and that season didn't go as planned exactly. But Wei Yin Chen, to me, is one of the worst contracts in baseball, but for sure the Marlins, because I feel like that has set them back years. They still owe him like $60 million. He can't stay on the mound. He can only pitch at home. He can't pitch on the road. Every year he's injured. We can't get rid of him because no one wants him. He opted in.
I'm sorry, what's your question?
Well, I want to know what he makes of this situation with Wei Yin Chen.
Wouldn't you have opted in also if you were Wei Yin Chen?
Oh, of course. That was the most obvious thing in the world.
Oh, no doubt. But look, this guy's pitched everywhere, and I think that there's a lot of homework that the Marlins should have done previous to it. He had pitched back at home in Taiwan. Then he had pitched, and then he had gone and he had pitched in Japan for many years. And then he went to Baltimore. He pitched there. I mean, there's a mileage that comes with this. And we see it a lot, especially with players that come from overseas. When they come from Asia, their bullpens are longer. They stay in games longer. They throw a lot more. When they come here, it's harder. It's really harder to know how much mileage you have left, and they sort of break down a little bit quicker when it comes to that. So you have to be very careful and do your homework according to how much mileage is in that arm. And it's unfortunate that the Marlins that have to pay for it. But yeah, it's set them back big time, and it's a contract that you can't move. Let's not forget you're also paying Volkas's deal. There's a lot of contracts that they had to move in the off season in order to at least be able to write the checks. But Wei Yin Chen is one of those guys right now that just cannot pitch on the road, and you're hoping that at least he can continue to do what he's doing at home. And if you have to pitch him at home only, leave him back. Have him not pay state taxes while he goes on the road.
I love the fact that Eddie. I love the fact that you verified Billy's point from yesterday that Wei Yin Chen has been immeasurably better at home than on the road.
Oh yeah, no doubt. The numbers don't lie. They don't lie with that. They really don't.
Eduardo Perez, always a pleasure, always intense. Thanks, man.
Oh yeah. Saludos, everybody. Saludos.
Thanks.
Coming up next, we'll get Izzy Gutierrez back on the air. We're going to dive into another player upset about the Warriors just adding to their avalanche of stars. It's Virk and Izzy on the Le Batard Show, ESPN Radio.
Don Le Batard. Stugotz. When you have the hammer, you gotta use it.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Izzy Gutierrez and Adnan Virk joining forces today on the Le Batard Show here on ESPN Radio. Andrew Marchand used to do a great job with us covering baseball, ESPN.com. He's now the New York Post sports media columnist. He just tweeted little love to our friend Mina Kimes. Mina Kimes has been good on Get Up this week. She seems like she's having a lot of fun, which comes through. That may be the case, but she is ignoring Billy's texts, which is what we really care about, because she had a top 5 list. We don't know what her top 5 list was.
Well, now we don't actually know if she had one or not, because I've been sitting here looking up occasionally at the Get Up replay and haven't seen it. We had it on, obviously, when it was live initially toward the very end, and we didn't see it. So unless we've missed it, it's a pretty long segment. I don't think that we would have looked down and missed it. So I think maybe it went by the wayside.
Well, this is something that happened that we talked about in the local hour, Adnan, that you weren't here for. We're worried about Mina. Not about Mina. Yeah. We're worried about ourselves. We feel like Mina, we're going to lose her because she's very talented. And other shows are starting to realize this, and we're starting to think that she's going to get too big for us. And I feel like the whole tech situation might be the beginning of that. Like, she does not have time to come on and give us her list today, and it's because she got up today.
She did, and now she's probably getting down on a nap because it's a long morning.
Tweet us right now. Is Mina Kimes getting too big for her own good? And will she leave the Le Batard Show? Let us know.
I think it's completely out of her control, though. Like, I think she's just definitely, like, everybody that gets her seems to want to keep her. It's not a problem for me. It's a problem for Mina.
Availability, never an issue for me and Izzy. Like, whenever you guys need us, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Izzy, tell me the deal. What's going on with Travis Scott?
Do you know Travis Scott? Do you like Travis Scott?
Vaguely. I don't know a ton about him. I know he's a singer.
All right, I'm a Travis Scott fan. I just ran into this story on the Huffington Post where he's gifting his fans $100,000 because, quote, life is hectic. He said he wrote on Twitter, I decided to unload my bank account on you guys. He said he's giving away $100,000 and there's like proofs. And there's proof, rather, of different tweets of people saying, yeah, he's giving me some money. He said, this tweet said, so I know it's hard for the kids, so I decided to unload my bank account on you guys. I'm busting down $100,000 and giving it away to any fans that can tweet me their cash tag with lyrics from Astro. It's his new, Astro World, I think is his new album. Mm-hmm. Gang, with 2 exclamation points. And Billy asked a great question, is why he doesn't follow people that give away money like this.
That's tremendous. I mean, it's very generous. The first question becomes, well, and I don't know how his bank account is, like how much is 100,000 relative to how much he has. But then I realized that's actually a stupid angle to take because I don't care how much money you have. Anybody who's giving away $100,000, I don't care if it's Bill Gates doing it. Like that's still $100,000. And Izzy, I'm sure you know people of wealth. Listen, there's a reason they're wealthy, generally because they keep all that money. They don't.
It's funny. This is kind of like a version of tithing, if you will, right? Like you give away a tenth of what you get. What do you got, Billy?
Did you see, like, when Drake was filming God's Plan, he did that in Miami, and he was just walking around the street with wads of cash, like, on the beach. Like, I could have been sitting on the beach one day, and Drake could have just handed me money, but that doesn't happen to me. Where am I when all this money giving away is happening?
You should be outside more and just look up and see if money starts falling.
I found $5 outside smoking the other day.
You found? Or did it fall from the sky?
It fell from somewhere. It could have been the sky.
Don Le Batard. The Gronk's Prayer. Our Gronk, who scores in sevens, hallowed be thy brain, thy kingdom dumb, thy will mix rum, on turf as it is in heaven.
Stugotz.
Feed us this day our daily meat spread, and don't forgive us our trespasses as we don't forgive those who double cover against us. Lead us directly and repeatedly into temptation, but deliver that sexy body from evil. For spikes in the end zone with great power, bring you glory forever. Amen.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
So, here's where my mind went. Not that we need to continue this conversation for very long, but here's where my mind went when I heard the Travis Scott. If you are just joining us, we just spoke in the last segment about how he gave away via Twitter $100,000 to fans, not a single fan, but to fans total, just because life is difficult. And I think I asked you this before, Adnan, but you're not a big Travis Scott fan, right?
Yeah, I'm aware of it, know a couple tracks, but not huge, no.
So if you've ever seen his videos, right, and if you listen to his songs, like this, it's one track in particular on this album, I forget the name of it, that he talks a lot about doing psychedelics. Like, I feel like we should have Bill Walton here for this segment. But he talks a lot about doing psychedelic drugs, and this is not for the kids, perhaps. And so if you ever watch his videos, it feels like it's made for people who are on psychedelics, right? Because it's just all kinds of crazy colors and weird flips and everything else. And like looking at it, I'm just like, this doesn't really make any sense to me. So I assume that it's, for maybe people who are enjoying themselves the way Travis Scott is enjoying himself. And then I started thinking about, all right, well, so if you hear all the talk about, when you're doing those psychedelics and you're in your own head and you like have these like epiphanies and you have these like philosophical, breakthroughs and everything else. And I'm wondering if maybe this was one of those situations where he's just like, what's a really good idea is giving away $100,000 to my fans, because you could argue it's a marketing ploy and that's great, but it's his fans. They already have his album, right? Like, I guess I'm talking about him, so it is a good, marketing decision, but I'm going to go ahead and guess this was definitely influenced by some sort of mind altering drug.
I love it. So we went from absolute altruism and just incredibly generous and a good soul till this guy was high as a kite and stumbled upon a dreadful idea.
Just tripping and giving away money. I mean, honestly, it is an intriguing conversation to have. Like, I'm not going to do this here, but I have, read some stuff about it, and it is crazy. Like, it's crazy. And I think, like, there's a couple other rappers, like A$AP Rocky, like, did a whole song about it, sort of his first experience on the hallucinogenics. It's kind of nutty. And I think that's like the new age rapper thing to do.
We're going to have to get Allison, who's going to reach out to Travis Scott. Listen, we just have one question. Were you high? And after that, we'll let him go.
Who did Dan talk to where he asked that question about? Was it a musician? Oh, was it Bernie Williams, right?
That's right. Bernie Williamson psychedelics. That's right.
Yeah. That's crazy. I feel like it's the new age thing to do in music, and maybe that's a topic for another day.
I love it. Let us know right now. Tweet us. Let us know if you think Travis Scott was high as a kite when he decided to give away $100,000 to people. Izzy, we got another person upset about the Warriors, and this time it's a major name. C.J. McCollum said he thinks star players join the Warriors is disgusting, and he would never do that. Come on.
I think C.J. McCollum was a journalism major, by the way, and his podcast is probably, I think it's the best sort of thing I've ever seen from an athlete while he's playing. Because he gets great guests and he gets great comments on there. And so CJ, what did he have? He had the Kevin Durant thing on his podcast, right? And then he had something yesterday too. That was it Jaylen Brown saying that he's going to that they're definitely going to make the finals in the NBA. But anyway, I kind of am of the opinion, and this is not something I'd ever say to their face, but I feel like Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum in particular maybe talk a little too much. Don't you think? Like, I think CJ in particular is going to start getting on other players' bad side, and it's kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's definitely one of those situations where you start to wonder, is there a relationship between star power and how much you can talk? Meaning, if LeBron James wants to say whatever he wants, it's like, well, yeah, he's earned that. He can be critical of people. He can be outspoken on social issues. He can be arrogant if he chooses to be, etc. Whereas if you're CJ McCollum, you're kind of like, dude, is there anything to that? Like, you're not the level you're at where you can say as much as you think.
I'll give him credit in this respect in order to be able to say something like this, because he's talking about, it's disgusting to join the Warriors, and he'd never do that. And it's just the whole argument of you want stuff to be more organic as, you grow a successful team. And he was a guy who came out of nowhere, really worked his way to becoming the star. And now I could understand if he wants that sort of natural organic growth in his team success as well. But I mean, do you really need to announce to the fans who already feel and agree with you, a good number of them, that this is disgusting and this is gross? Like, you're insulting a guy like DeMarcus Cousins, who frankly didn't have any other offers and went there because, it's a 2-for-1 deal. Hey, they're giving me money that nobody else is giving me. Well, I know it's a small amount, and I'm going to get to win and play on a big stage every time I do. Every time I play, I'm on a giant stage, and I'll probably make it to the finals and win a championship. So I don't think it's disgusting. I think it's insulting to say that of him.
Yeah, I think you can appreciate what Boogie did and say, listen, anybody in any profession, if they have the chance to be a winner, whatever that means, relative to the rest of the workforce, because we don't win NBA titles. But if you just can go be a winner in the workforce and you have an option and there's no other company offering you such a scenario, how on earth could you turn that down? Like, I don't know. I would never begrudge DeMarcus Cousins. Could you imagine if he'd gone to a lousy team, would anybody say, well, that what a heroic gesture. He could have gone to the Warriors, but instead he went and just laid there in the doldrums of NBA irrelevance.
He went back to the Kings, you mean?
Right. Yeah, exactly. He just stayed there. Like, no, like that would have been an idiotic move. Go where you can. Having said that, I totally get and appreciate and agree with the fans who say, I don't understand why I should watch this NBA season, because the Warriors are going to romp and they don't even need them till March. And the best part of this NBA season to me was when the Rockets punched them in the mouth. When it was 3-2 in the Western Conference Finals, you go, all right, the champ's on the ropes. And then all of a sudden, Chris Paul gets hurt and things change a little bit. But listen, while I can appreciate fan annoyance, absolutely, I don't understand player annoyance, particularly publicly. What is the win here from McCollum saying
there isn't
disgusting?
And this is essentially just not only a knock on Boogie or conversation about Boogie, but obviously it goes back to Kevin Durant, who went on his podcast and kind of played him a little bit with the truth by telling him that they're not going to win a championship, yada yada. And so, I don't know if you want that enemy any more than they already are. Especially Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant loves to get the switch and back down smaller guys and just, school them. And he will do that all day against CJ McCollum, and that's not going to work out well for the Blazers.
Yeah, interesting to see how that is going to turn out, because I think you're right. The team with a couple of stars, but it's just that obviously the West is just so tough to try to break through. I'm not sure how it's going to work out. Coming up next, Mikey C has to give us his long-awaited list of how he ranks the following. What's most vital to him in his time of need? Going to do number 1, going to do number 2, eating something when you're starving, having a drink when you're really thirsty, or going right to bed. That's coming up next. It's Adnan Virk and Izzy Gutierrez, Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Catch more of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz, 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
This is your bedroom. This is your bedroom. with Blue Chew. Blue Chew uses the same active ingredients as in Viagra or Cialis, but now comes in chewable form. Chewable means better, cheaper, and works faster than pills. No in-person doctor visit, no waiting in line, no more awkwardness. 100% online at BlueChew.com, where your first order is free. Just pay $5 shipping. Use promo code DAN at BlueChew.com and restart the party.
There's nothing better than doing this program because and people have realized this, particularly the show staff, I am devoid of any ideas. I have nothing to contribute. Billy had put us in a group text with me and Izzy on a couple days ago. It's like, hey, what do you guys want to get into? And I'm like, movies, baseball, and Canada is good for me, which at least Izzy then knew which number was mine. But the best part is that Roy sends out some ideas, Chris sends out some ideas, and then Mikey C contributes ideas unwittingly, which is a death pool. So that's what we're doing at noon Eastern on the Le Batard Show. Adnan Virk, Izzy Gutierrez right now on ESPN Radio and ESPN app. So, Mikey C, listen, you're the obvious number one. I don't even know if we should go around the room ranking because I feel like Mikey C is an obvious one. If anybody has to, speak now or forever hold your peace. Mikey C is one, right? The death pool?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's a no-brainer. The question now becomes, who is number two?
Is this at ESPN or anybody associated with this show?
Let's go with associated with the show. If you want to be really intimate, we can just do associated with the show today. But if you want to go associated with the show, period, then we want to include.
Yeah, if we go with the show, period, it's a sensitive subject for the Codys.
Are we doing natural causes?
We don't want to play probably don't want to play it.
About to say, recent developments, thankfully benign. Good to see that with regards to Greg Cody, but that is a good point by Izzy.
Is this just natural causes or like anything can be taken into account?
Could be anything. Billy, if you think you know what, Adnan is in relative health, but I think he's the kind of guy that would get hit by a car and die, then I'm number two. Like it can be just who's going to die.
I got one. All right. I would put, which way am I going? All right. The next person after me would be Billy.
Wow.
Whoa.
Probably heart attack from stress.
Sorry, because I feel like he's got a lot of stress in his life. Roy, he's a stressful kid. Chris, Adnan, Izzy.
I'm about to say that the easiest answer is that Mikey C is the first to die, and also relatively easy is that Izzy is the last to die.
I don't know, because he lays on train tracks, and there could always be like a rogue train that just comes and hits
or like
if
you touch it in the middle somewhere and it like electrocutes you.
Yeah.
Listen, if he keeps going to EDM and EDC concerts, maybe that will change things. But I think Izzy's pretty good right now as far as the long run. When did you have Chris? No offense, Cody. I had you a little higher, I think, than Mikey had you.
Yeah, I had Chris right before you and Izzy.
Well, so you've got Roy ahead of Chris. What is that reasoning?
I just feel like Roy, he's got a lot in his mind. I don't know. Stress, newborn.
Just his mind's going to explode one day. No more room here.
Billy, I get the one he was, at least his logic with you. There's the sense of agita,
oh yeah, it's gonna be like a self-inflicted like heart attack over like something like as meaningless. Something like as meaningless as like my parking's about to expire and I can't log into my phone for some reason and I'm gonna be 5 minutes over and I have to go, add time to something like that.
That's for you.
Yeah. Okay. For me, it's going to be something like ridiculous.
All right, so Billy at least agrees with or at least the reasoning. I don't know about the ranking. But Roy, do you think that you're somebody who's prone to die relatively early out of the group of us?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely
angry
not.
He gets?
I don't know. I know I've heard some of Roy's eating habits, and I know, he's thin and everything else and looks like he's in good shape, but there are some stories about some people who just have a great metabolism, and so they stay thin, but they eat poorly and they die young.
Hey, listen, I eat pretty well, okay?
No, you don't.
I snack a lot, but I eat very well.
Snacking and eating, same thing. They're all eating. Don't call snacking something different.
This list is relative to the show. I think for the most part, aside from me, we're all fairly healthy people. Well, you guys are.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen Chris Cody run? Seems pretty healthy.
Yeah, it's like a blur.
The funny thing is I'm like the most overweight of the shipping container, and I probably eat close to the healthiest. It's odd.
Can we go back in time a little bit and talk about your brief but very powerful shredding for the wedding experience? Because I didn't feel like that lasted too long, nor did you shred.
Actually, the funny thing is, I didn't get shredded. Sorry, Izzy, we can't all be.
I mean, I tried my best.
You did.
I tried to set
Izzy
you up.
You hooked me up a lot, and this guy, your training regimen is, it's tough. But it actually did. I actually did cut a bunch of weight for my wedding, and my picture, I'm happy with the pictures. So that's really what it was all about.
Well, that's the tricky part too, because you don't want to get too unfamiliar, right? You don't want to take the pictures and then 2 months later look totally the way you did before and be like, "Who's that married my wife?"
Right. But I feel like, I'm slowly moving back to that. I haven't, I'm getting there.
I'm telling you, Adnan, I've been trying to recruit him because he lives in Broward County, which is, north of the beach here. He lives somewhere between Dan and Stugotz, which is kind of where I live. And I'm trying to recruit him to play on my flag football team, or league, rather. And, I'd make sure I put him on my team. But I don't know why. He says he doesn't have the lateral quickness. He's just got the straight speed, straight line speed. And I said, I'm good with that.
I was about to say, just run the go route. Like, you don't need to have lateral speed. Like, just every time, Cody just flies down the field.
If I'm running your go routes on your flag football team, we're not very good.
Oh, come on. Like, it's not like it's just one route out there and you've got to beat your guy. We run combinations, man. We'll get you open.
We got to just have me come out and let me do a workout for you, and then you can put me where you think.
You don't want to be on his team.
Well, we have those. We call those clinics. We have 2 of them, one coming up this Saturday and one the following Saturday.
So you run this league?
No. I'm only in charge of sponsors, but there's a commissioner of our league.
So you're like the Stugotz of the league.
Yeah, I'm the Murray. I do the cold calls, if you will. Yeah.
What happens at these clinics, by the way?
You learn how to play flag football. You learn our rules in particular. You get to know the people. You see, we're all about, being friendly, happy, a fun experience. It's competitive as, when it gets there, but we're all about the, the familial sort of, experience.
You have a whistle?
I do not.
Or
the
clipboard?
referees do. I do not have a clipboard. I just tell people what to do, and then I say, good job.
Is there still contact in this league? Because I've seen some flag football leagues where there's actual blocking and
we
people
play
get
7-on-7, so we have some contact. There's there's blocking the rusher. There's contact on the line. There's certain things you can't do. You can't extend your arms. You can't push somebody off. You can't re-engage once you've engaged. But no, it's some solid contact there.
October 6th is the big tournament, right? I put in or is it
No,
September
October
6th?
6th is the game that we're having down here in Miami at Flamingo Park. Nationally, this is so boring. But down here in Flamingo Park, which is a few blocks from here, and then we'll have an after party here at the Clevelander.
Can we get Le Batard involved at any level? Like, is he call plays? Can he be a coach, a GM, anything? Smoking stogies in sidelines?
He can host the after party.
Get all his buddies from Ballers together.
So, quick note on Roy. This made me laugh so much. So, you don't hear much from Roy, right? And in terms of, show planning and whatnot, it's pretty similar. It's straight to the point, not much from Roy, but every once in a while, he just drops a gem on your lap and you're just like, man, it just makes you realize what's really important to Roy. And so a few segments ago, he just jumps in my ear and says, the new Miami soccer logo looks to be out. It's a good one. And then and he just keeps talking about it. And I'm just like, wow. I don't know if you're suggesting to me that we talk about that on the show, or if you're just really excited about the logo that David Beckham and the crew have created for the Miami Soccer Club.
No, I'm just really excited.
Just
about
really
it.
excited.
Yeah,
that is so crazy to me. I've never met somebody. I mean, that's the most excitement I've heard out of you. Just right there. Slow down, Roy. It's not that big a deal. It's just a logo.
Yeah, but this is it. This is all logo. This is all crest.
Our. So you're a hockey and a soccer guy.
Yeah. Well, I'm not really a soccer guy, but it's technically going to be my team, so sure.
What do you like about it?
Yeah,
it's nice. And it's black, it's pink. There's a little bit of pink accents on it, and it's white. Yeah. And I think the uniform is going to be great too. So I'm really looking forward to.
You're looking forward to those kits. Well, I mean, it's a nice. I'll tweet it out in a second. It's a nice logo when it says international and it's spelled like international NACIONAL Club de Football Miami. It's got a couple of flamingos back to back, and their legs are one of their legs are crossing each other.
Yes.
Is that like a flamingo high five? Is that how they mate? What's happening here?
It's forming an M. Yeah.
But do flamingos actually do that? Is my question.
Well,
because this could be like bird porn.
They don't interlock. No, they just lift one leg up.
Don't flamingos have yellow legs?
And this one, their legs are pink. And what is the MMXX on the bottom?
I think that's Roman numerals there for the year. Most likely, but
is that
2018? No.
X's or 10s.
Is that 2020? Is that when they were
2020? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So most likely it'll probably be Inter Miami.
And there you go, the most excited you've ever heard Roy Bellamy.
I love it. Hockey and soccer logos. Coming up next, bird porn plus sports movies we did not include in our top 5. It's Virk and Izzy on the Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Don Le Batard.
I was going to say, it's interesting that Des Bryant's getting criticized for, rooting for bad things or people suggesting there was a Vine out there where, Des Bryant is maybe perhaps saying that he was rooting for bad things to happen to that guy?
Stugotz.
I found that really
Your
interesting.
explanation was awful.
It was terrible.
Like you couldn't.
It was.
Like
It was.
you sounded like you had no idea what you were talking about. You want to try again?
I don't, because I have zero confidence right now.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Chaka Demus implies that one of the favorite musical acts of Max Bretos, who is our special guest joining us now. Listen, people think Max goes, he just went and saw, what was it, a tribute to the Ramones, Max? Where were you exactly recently?
I was at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, and Johnny Ramone is buried there, so I just went by his gravestone. But there was a concert for this band called Beach House. I don't know if anyone's familiar with them, but it's very melancholy music. And I just sat in the cemetery and watched it. It was awesome.
Why? Why were you there?
Because they have a live show in the cemetery, and I want to disturb the dead. What a better opportunity to do that than to sit there and swill beer that I got at Trader Joe's and stomp my feet. But they do that there. Izzy, if you're ever out here, I would highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun.
Nope. No, thank you. We can go to lunch or something if you want, Max.
The reason I brought it up with Adnan is because all his old Hollywood legends are buried there, like Douglas Fairbanks and Cecil B. DeMille. So I thought the reason I brought it to him, I'm not Johnny Ramone notwithstanding, but the other guys, I think he'd get a kick. And you see these huge mausoleums; it's pretty cool.
You ever heard the phrase "rest in peace"?
Let those dead people rest. I do, but I don't think I'm going to be the one that's going to be punished for that in the afterlife. It's going to be the people that okayed that for the concert. I'm just following suit.
I guess we'll see.
Someone's going to be there,
or you'll see.
The Douglas Fairbanks.
I'm going to be punished for something in the afterlife. That's probably down the list a bit.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the list, by the way, in just a second.
Let's get your
Max's list. Yeah, you want to do it now? Sure. So Max Bretos, by the way, does a fantastic job filling in on SportsCenter. He's been on Nacion, of course, and he's also the voice of LAFC. I'm going to give the list here first, Max, but I'm not sure if you're aware of what we've been doing. So basically, we're ranking this list of the 5, which is what are you most in dire need of when it happens? Which is 1, you got to go pee. 2, you got to do number 2. 3 is you're exhausted and you want to sleep. 4 is you're starving, you want to have something to eat. And 5 is you're incredibly thirsty and have a glass of water or whatever beverage you want. Of those 5, which one do you think is number 1? Because I think it's a clear-cut number 1, and most choices have had this as number 1. What is yours?
See, I'd move food down.
Yes.
Probably the bowel movement as well. But you know what's also good about the bowel movement, which I think you have to compare, is after that, having a good shower and cleaning that area is equally as good. But that probably goes down a bit. I imagine it's peeing and drinking water. Are those one of those the top 2? I feel like I'm one who wants to be a millionaire.
Peeing is number 1 without question. When that urgent pressure is there on your bladder, there's nothing more freeing and exhilarating when you finally get to empty it.
Right. And you probably could die if you hold that in. It starts coming out another orifice, and then you're in a lot of problems. So, yeah, that's probably the answer. But I honestly, it's tougher than I think you give it credit for, because all those things are a wonderful relief. Great poll, by the way.
Are you one of those guys that sort of, when you really got to go, you just kind of lean forward against the wall in front of you and just give away?
Oh, yeah. I remember once, and I was in Miami when I was growing up, and I was 16, and I think we were in a club we shouldn't have been, or a bar, and I was probably drinking beer for the first time or 2 to 3 times in my life. And I remember doing that, and it was so impactful that smoke was coming off the wall while I was hitting it. And I go, that is powerful stuff right there.
What do you think Sean Connery would rank number 1 of that list?
Well, without question, a nice empty of number 2, of course. After you have all that haggis and awful Scottish fare, nothing like it, and a couple wipes in your yawn, you have many way. Sorry, was that vulgar?
No, that's not bad. Not bad.
I hear crickets on the other end. I must have said something.
Listen, Izzy wants to ask Max Bretos about soccer logos. This is important.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's really Roy's thing, right? And whenever Roy brings up a subject, I mean, it's got to be super important. I mean, he doesn't really bring up much of anything. He doesn't even talk about his own family, if you will, unless other people bring it up. But he got really excited, and by that I mean he mentioned it in a very calm voice, about this new Miami International Club de Football logo, and I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen it, Max?
I'm looking at it right now.
Can we get the full football analysis on this logo from you?
First of all, I love the Spanish because a lot of these new MLS teams are falling in line, calling themselves so-and-so FC, which is nice, but now everyone's doing it, and I think we're anglifying our league too much. So having it in Spanish, Internacional Club de Football, is a wonderful move. I love how the Miami teams have the Art Deco look. It's not teal, it's pink here. So that's smart with the clubs to fall in line with the Marlins and the Dolphins. And what is it, an egret? Yeah, those birds are everywhere. That's a little too University of Miami for my liking as a Florida State guy, but it's okay. But I think at the end of the line, Miami's going to screw this up, and this club will never happen. So,
whoa. We asked for the logo analysis, not to predict when the death of this thing will happen.
We've been waiting for this club forever, and I've heard there's going to be a team at Bayfront. I heard there's a team in Southwest Miami. There's going to be a team like in the Overtown area. I don't know where. I know they have a new spot. And it's going to be a huge. It's not just going to be a soccer field. It's going to be a huge development. So obviously, it's probably going to happen at this point. But it's just been such a slow burn.
Everything amazing is worth waiting for, and this will be.
So this is an extreme wait. But I do like the logo. I do like me some David Beckham. Jorge Mas, let's get it going. And obviously, it's going to be a great destination if they get it right for some big name players. Hopefully, not too old in their mid-30s to come over here and make Miami. Look, it's going to be good for the league. I hope. So that's all important.
Max Bretos recently moving from Central Connecticut to Los Angeles. Max, what do you miss most about Central Connecticut, and what do you like least about Los Angeles? Because I think this goes the other way. Normally people are going, oh, my God, L.A., the sun. Oh, yeah, Connecticut, the winter. So I want you to go the other way. What do you most miss about living here, and what do you least like about Los Angeles?
I miss being 45 minutes from a little ski area, which we had there in Central Connecticut. So if I wanted to go skiing, it was right there, which was a cool little feature. I miss Neapolitan-style pizza from New Haven, like Pepe's Pizza, which is the best pizza in the world is in New Haven, Connecticut, and I have no allegiance there. I just say that freely because it's really, really good. The white clam with the extra garlic, best pizza I've ever had. I miss some of the breweries around there, I guess. The IPA, they actually had a couple good ones in Hartford, and I miss the seasons. When the seasons start, you see that. It's really cool. But once it gets in the winter, you hate the seasons. But seeing autumn and so forth go in. About L.A., obviously traffic. Traffic is 1, 2, and 3 on the list.
So much worse traffic than Toronto.
I knew Izzy was going to say that.
It's just getting really bad. I mean, from the last time I lived here to now, I mean, I'm in traffic all the time. Hopefully I'm moving soon. I'm staying at my in-laws in Hacienda Heights, which is about 30 miles east of downtown. I'm moving to Redondo Beach in a bit, which is a little bit closer. So that shall alleviate some of that traffic. But the traffic, without a doubt, I can't think of anything else. L.A. is a great city. I call it the greatest city in the world. There's always stuff to do. If you want to go to a concert in a cemetery, you can do it.
Yeah. Listen, but you're born in Ohio. You lived 7 years in Australia. As you said, Miami guy. Mom, family are there. Obviously, you went to Florida State. But you've lived in L.A. now 10-plus years overall when you go the 2 stints. So you're saying L.A. better than them all?
I've lived in L.A. now, let's see, about 16 years total. And all my family's in Miami. Mom, sister, all the nephews, cousins, uncles, grandma's there. I just saw her. My grandmother Abuelita Lolita, I just saw her. She celebrated her 96th birthday. She's been wanting to check out for 5 years, but they're keeping her on this plane, and I love it because she's the matriarch of our family, so Miami's very dear for me. But I got to pay some more visits out there as well, but certainly not in August, preferably in November or December. But I was just there, and it was I remembered why Miami can be a little more seasonal for me, but I do miss it.
Speaking of which, quick update on the Miami logo situation. I tweeted out a picture of it, but instead of writing Big Day for Roy Bellamy, I accidentally wrote Butt Day for Roy Bellamy. So you got to work on that, Roy.
Thanks, Izzy.
Maybe it comes full circle with it. But I do like that is an egret, correct?
I think it's a flamingo or a couple of flamingos, so I have no idea.
Okay, flamingo, then I'm good. Good. Reminds me of what's Flagler dog track back in the day.
As we let you go, Max, I just don't know, is David Bowie have any inkling about what's happening with LAFC, the team that you're calling? You're the play-by-play voice of LAFC. Is David Bowie involved? Is he aware what's going to happen?
A season ticket holder, in fact. Season ticket holder since day one. I've seen all of every home game. But every time I play a halftime show, I'll sing a little song like this. Are you ready? Still a little fat man, looking at the table. Fat, 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 Adnan Virk and Izzy doing the radio. He's a star man and Adnan's a star comedian. Down to LAFC, Miami International.
Sorry. I get a little carried away with David. Sorry.
I love it. I love it. The best. Thanks, buddy.
All right, fellas.
All right, that is Max Bretos coming up next. I have no idea. It's Virk and Gutierrez, Le Batard Show, ESPN Radio.
Don Le Batard. Nobody in my life has as many unlikable traits who I still like as Stugotz.
Stugotz.
Would you have taken the pay cut?
No. Pay cuts. Please. The hell are you talking to?
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Hey, Adnan, you know when you were in school as a young kid and like you would read for the entire class?
I used to love that. Yeah,
I used to love it, right? And you used to feel really good about yourself and like, and not to like pick on other people when the other kids didn't do it so well, right? And it's your turn. It's like, look how clear I can read. That's what every read is like on this show for me. I'm so proud of being able to do it. And even the slip-ups are nowhere near as bad as Stugotz's. So when you just get through it cleanly, it's like, it feels great. Low standards, low expectations.
Stugotz absolutely has screwed up the opponent.
Yeah. That's what made me think of it. You're right.
I was going to say, not a strong tennis guy, Stu. Although he is on Team Federer, Stu. There's no question about it. He's also
easy
on Team Federer. Is he? Yeah. Speaking of jobs, I'd like to offer to you now as well. After I turned down the League of Lobos here, the fantasy football. Here's another one I got for you. Florida Film Festival DMing me. We love your show. I'd love to have you as a juror at the 2019 Florida Film Festival taking place April 12th to 21st. If you're interested, please send us your email address, and our program director will send you more details. Of course, you can't do that because that's NBA playoff time. I can't do that because that's baseball season. But what level of interest would you have if I said, listen, I can't do it. My friend Izzy Gutierrez, I think, would be terrific to be a juror for the Florida Film Festival.
What's a juror in that situation?
Yeah, so you got to. I've done this before. I was a juror actually for the Greenwich Film Festival. Shout out to Mark Teixeira who hooked me up with that because he's on the board. So I was sent 8 movies, and thankfully we didn't. I mean, listen, there's so many categories. You can go documentary and live action short, just like the Oscars. But this was feature film, so I had to watch 8 movies, which isn't very hard for me, of course. But what is challenging is like when the movie stinks. So of the 8 movies, I'll be completely candid. 2 were outstanding and did get theatrical releases. One of those films is called We the Animals. It's coming out next week. 3 of them were okay, and 3 were atrocious. And you have this painful feeling as a juror that you have to get through it because somebody has dedicated their life and craft towards filmmaking, towards doing this, but it's awful.
Do you send the makers of the bad movies to prison?
I wish I had that kind of power. But you end up meeting with the other jurors because you're all, of course, sequestered. Then you meet. And that first fear was, I said, what if these guys think the movies I thought were atrocious were the best? So it was very smart. We just went around the room with the 8 movies and just said thumbs up, thumbs down. Because if they're all down, then we know it's not going to win. We don't have to rank 1 through 8. We just have to rank what's the best. So when all 3 say pass, we're okay, good, we can go into the other stuff. But I'm telling you right now, it's a major time commitment. But
yeah, I've got more questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you said sequestered. So you just have to watch all 8 movies, and I'm assuming it's about 2 hours, so that's about 16 hours. So you just spend an entire day and you're not allowed to go anywhere. You just have to watch these movies?
Well, you can watch it at any time. Well, I got the movies, 8 movies, 2 weeks in advance. So I'd watch one day, watch one a couple days later, but I couldn't like reach out to any of the other jurors and be like, hey, how about Madeline's battling? You know the terrain better. All of you guys do. It's in Maitland, Florida. So I don't even know. Is that relative to where you guys are? Is it
No. I mean, since I've really never heard of it, I can't imagine it's close.
Billy, where's Maitland, Florida in relation?
I actually was looking it up because at first on the website I couldn't find it. Maitland is a city, and it looks to be like northern, like kind of north in the center of the state. It says it's in Orange County, so it looks like it's like a little north of Orlando, maybe. But it's not a big city. No. Like none of us were even aware of that city.
No, actually, now that I think about it, I think I have heard of it before. Yeah, it's right near Orlando. And so is there like pay involved?
No, and thank you for pointing that out. That was going to be my immediate question was like, is there money involved? Like, is this going to be, imagine if you or I did this, we would have to take vacation time off our actual jobs, go do this, and I don't think that there's pay.
So what is the payoff here? You just get to watch these movies and judge them before other people do?
Yeah, it's just a feather in the cap of saying, hey, I was on the jury at a film festival.
It looks like it's like a 9-day festival, though. You'd only have to be there like one day, right? Like, you don't have to be there all the days.
Correct. You just show up and go, hey, I saw the movies. I'm here with my fellow jurors. Let's decide what's the best. Peace out.
Did you get bribed by any, like, the producers? Be like, if you give my, movie a little boost,
Great question. I'm interested again.
I'm not nearly big time enough that they would, exactly. You were losing interest and then feigning interest, and now you're actually reinterested. No, they don't actually have our names or anything like that. But I mean, listen, if I was the filmmaker and I felt like I had a good movie, absolutely. I'm like, listen, Virk, love Cinephile. Oh, love you on college football. Let me know what I need to do to make this happen. Here's a little $500, the Virk Trust Fund. So it appears I should just say, listen, unless Cody, maybe you could do this. I feel like you might be interested in Florida Film Festival. What do you think?
It's a population of 15,000, so it's kind of a small. This has to be the biggest thing that they do, right? In Maitland, I feel so like ignorant on Maitland. I hope I'm not offending anyone in that city.
I don't know, and not to leapfrog Chris here. I'm pretty sure he wasn't listening. I don't know what exactly. Again, the point of this is, but I don't know if I even really know what the good movies are these days. And so I feel like there's I haven't seen an Academy Award winning film. I think I maybe saw Moonlight. I know I saw Moonlight. I don't know if it won or not, but I don't know what these good movies are anymore. Now that there's like 10 nominees, it's overload. And so I feel like I would do this all wrong. I feel like I would say the good movies are bad and the bad movies are good.
But then it'd be great. Like, who's this outlier? Because then, listen, everything that is counterculture is cool. It's like, who's this Gutierrez guy? Like, he's just so off the wall. His film acumen isn't anywhere near ours. Maybe he's got it all right. We've got it all wrong.
You know what? Yeah. I'm interested again. I'm really interested.
Florida Film Festival.
Let's keep talking about this one.
All right.
You can listen to the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio, and you can watch on ESPN News.